All right, we'll take a comfortable seat that allows the chest to lift. Draw the shoulders up and away from the ears. Keeping the chest lifted, we'll drop the nose just slightly toward the floor, eyes either closed or just soft. And if they're soft, you can open up the peripheral vision. So here you start to see a little bit of the space around you. Tuning in to the breath, just how you're breathing, how the body's feeling this morning. From that observing standpoint, also take a notice of how's the mind. Is it jumping around today? Do you feel really solid and grounded? As you identify which energies are in the body, is it excited energy, scattered energy, solid, slow, fast? As we start to get a sense of these energies, notice which ones may be in excess. Which ones do you have too much of right now? Try to let those excesses go with your exhales. Trying to release that extra energy and inviting the balancing opposite energy into the body. So we're using our intention here to bring about centeredness. As you move closer to that balanced place, you can slow down and deepen the breath. It starts to be a little quieter but full. Intentionally relaxing your being. Couple more breaths here. It's really full inhales, not rushed. Those long, steady exhales. And on your next inhale, slowly open the eyes, come back into space. Okay, let's start with a neck roll. So we'll keep those shoulders back. Drop the nose down. We're just going to do a half circle. So starting to look over your right shoulder and then dropping the nose back down toward the floor, over to the left shoulder. So it's again a swing back and forth in a half circle. And any speed here. Just noticing what may be going on in the neck. And then when you come over to the left side, I'm going to roll on around, making a full circle. And when you come all the way over to the right, then we're going to go backwards. I'm going to turn, reverse the direction, full circle over to the right side. And then back a couple more times of just back and forth with the half circle, bottom of the half circle. Do two, like a couple times, 2 times of a half circle, and then at some point doing a full circle one time around, pausing in that direction, full circle the other way around, and then back to the half circle. So we're just doing 2 full circles, waking up the neck. One more time with that full circle in one direction, and then full circle in the other direction. And we'll work back toward that starting place. And you can lift the nose once you're there. All right, let's take the hands to the shoulders, circling at the elbows and starting to lengthen out that breath. So it might feel good to exhale out the mouth. It might feel good to sigh. Just really staying tuned with what your body needs. I'm doing this intensive Ayurvedic training. And one thing that they talk about is that we need to give in to the body's little cues. Okay, before I keep talking, the pause there. Let's go the other way, circling opposite direction. And if we ignore these small cues that the body has, like the need to sigh, the need to stretch, the need, to move, or just those little things, if we tend to suppress those and continuously suppress those, then that builds up tension in the body that just builds upon the tension that the mind is already providing, and it just lodges in the joints and different parts of the body. And if you never work it out, you never get there, then it can lead to eventual problems, pain, disease, that kind of thing. So it's really important to give in to those body sensations as they arise. All right, we're going to release the hands, and let's take the left hand down to the side bend here. Reach the right arm up and over. So particularly the little things like the sighing or the twitching or the moving. Obviously, we have social constraints sometimes that prevent us from really, doing what the body may need at that particular moment. But as much as we're able to do that, we want to try to release those little energies. And on inhale, we'll come on up and over to the other side. And then we'll come on up center. Let's take both hands back by the hips and open the chest here. Shoulder blades back and down, lifting the center of the chest up toward the ceiling. Maybe coming into a back bend. And then on inhale, come on back up to center. Let's interlace the fingers or press the hands forward and up and over the head. Nice tall posture. Chain and ceiling away from the floor. And then bring the hands down. Let's take a change in the place of the fingers. And then forward up one more time, couple breaths here. And then I'll bring the hands back down and release. All right, let's come into hands and knees. Oh, once you're here in hands and knees, we'll do a little cat-cow, tailbone up, chest up. On your inhale and exhaling and arching the back. Really finding that full range of motion. See if you can maybe try to exaggerate the end point. See if you can push in just a little bit into where those edges are in these two poses. Just really staying with your breath, staying with the body. I think you may be observing as you go through these. And the next time that you come into cat pose, that'll be the last one here. And we'll come back to a neutral spine. And we'll take the hands forward, spreading the fingers wide. I'm going to bring the hips forward, half plank pose. So hips in line with the knees and the shoulders, pushing actively down into the hands. And if your knees are okay, you could pick your feet up off the floor here, so that you're pointing your feet up toward the ceiling. Just notice when you do that, don't drop the hips down. So we still hold in alignment with the hips in line with the shoulders and the knees. Breathing here. From here, I'm going to keep those elbows in close. Let's lower all the way down to the floor, and you can relax the feet back down to the floor as well. Tailbone down, cobra pose or steel pose if your back is feeling okay. Starting to open the chest. And we'll lower back down to the floor. Going to bring your elbows under your shoulders for Sphinx pose. So hands are shoulder width apart. Elbows are directly under the shoulders. Shoulder blades down down the back, and chest starts to pop through. It's like you're going to scoot your way across the floor. So leading with the chest, you might lift the head. If it feels okay, you might look up toward the ceiling, trying to get a stretch along the neck. And keeping that tailbone down, if it feels okay here, you could pick your feet up off the floor and point them up toward the ceiling like you did in half plank. So this way you're bringing the top of your head toward your feet. If you want a little more here and your back is okay, spread the fingers wide and straighten your elbows. I'm going to start, if you do that, you'll really lift up high. Try to keep the shoulders down away from the ears. And then if your elbows are straight, we're going to bring them back down to the floor in that Sphinx position, dropping your feet down to the floor. And then we'll slide the hands back by the shoulders and push up to that half plank pose. And then we'll bring the hips back by the feet, coming into prayer pose. So just going to reach the arms out. Just breathing into the back. And then on an inhale, lift the head. We're going to bring the hands back by the knees and work our way into balancing squat. So you can take your knees wide and the feet a little more in. Tuck your toes under. And then walk your hands back and lift your knees. So from this balancing squat, you can adjust the spacing of the feet as much as you need. Try to bring the heels toward the floor. One day maybe getting the heels all the way down. And then working your way up into your balance, trying to lift the head, lift the chest. Your elbows may come off of the knees here, hands together, perhaps at the heart or in some other orientation around the head. Just going to try and get as tall as you can in your balancing squat. Heels working their way down toward the floor. Drawing in toward your core to find that groundedness. Just breathing here. And then from here, we're going to work our way up to standing any way that works for you. And clear off your mat if there's anything on it. Coming to stand into Tadasana, mountain pose. Let's take the arms up and over the head. Palms together and come into crescent pose toward the right, dropping down. Inhale back up to center and a crescent pose, other side. Inhale back up to center. Let's release the hands. We're going to step the feet about mat width apart and turn your heels out. So heels out, mat width apart, about that. Heels out, toes slightly in. I'm going to bend the knees just a bit. So I'm going to find a place here. Have the hands on your hips to start. We're going to drop the tailbone down between the feet. So we're not poking the rear end back. We're not doing a tuck forward either. So just drawing straight down. Knees are bent. Connecting with your feet here. Pushing into all parts of the feet. Solid across the sole of the foot and both feet. Tailbone straight down, shoulders in line over your hips. Release the hands now over your head and turn your palms up like you're pushing the ceiling away. Elbows out to the side. Just breathing here. Really feeling into the whole body. See if you can find a sense of alignment. Where's your plumb line, that center line? Notice if there's some part of the body that's out of that. So if the hands are too far forward, trying to bring them back into line. If the shoulders feel like one is forward than the other, trying to level them out. And with that tailbone, noticing if you have a tendency that as you start to fatigue here, if the tailbone wants to go back behind, trying to keep it down, actively pushing into the feet, feeling the whole body, whole sense of whole body. Notice if you're gripping in the body somewhere. Relaxing your effort. Relax your effort across the shoulders, across the knees, ankles. Breath flowing. All right, now straighten the legs. Let's release the arms. We're going to bring the feet back about hip distance apart. Let's twist around the spine. Releasing the back. And then coming on back to center. Let's root into the left foot. We're going to find the left foot on the floor, toning the muscles of the left leg. We'll start to lift the right knee straight up here, flamingo pose. You're going to start to lift that knee. Find your ankle down your left foot. And if you can, go ahead and interlace your hands underneath the back thigh if you're able to do that. Balancing here, lifting up to the top of the head. Flamingo pose, just holding that leg if you can. So the outer right hip, if it's trying to come up towards your shoulder, you're going to try to keep it down, keep those hips level. Little micro movements. So you could, if you can't quite wrap your hands around, you could bring your hands just to the back, like toward the hip of the thigh. You could hold there. Yeah, if you can't quite get the hands all the way around. A couple more breaths here, just folding leg flamingo pose. All right. Go ahead and release. Good work. I'm going to roll that left ankle. So you're going to cup on your toes, sort of circle ankle. I'm going to circle the other way, just releasing the ankle on that side. All right, coming back to center. We're going to come to the other side. Right leg is a standing leg. It's really grounding down into the earth, toning the muscles of that side. And then we're going to lift that left knee and try to bring the hands underneath of the thigh. Flamingo pose. And then trying to make the body as tall as we can. So reaching up to the top of the head, outer hip down on that left side, tailbone pointing toward the foot that's on the floor. Little micro movements around the ankle, the foot that's on the floor. Just breathing, relaxing the effort. And then with control, release that leg, lower it back down. Good. I'm going to roll that right ankle, keeping the toes on the floor, circling. Then we'll circle the other way. All right, coming on back to center. We're going to work our way into triangle pose, Trikonasana on the right side. So you can grab a hold of a block if you want to use it. Right foot forward, toes out on that side, left foot back. Nice big space between the feet. Toes in, heel out on the left side. So even though that hip is rolling around, we're going to counter that by bringing the hips in line with the feet. So making sure that you are in this lateral position. Yeah, hips in line with the feet, even though there's a turn in on that left side. Arms out when you're ready. Toning the muscles of the legs, pulling into your core. Reach the right fingertips, hinge at the hips, and come on down. Trikonasana, triangle pose. Stacking the shoulders, aligning the hips. Breathing and extending. This is an extension pose. So from the center of the body, radiating out. I've also heard this pose called star pose for that same reason, that you're radiating from the center through both legs, through both arms, and even to the top of the head. It's funny, the English words for these different poses. The Sanskrit means triangle, but I can see where star could be applied. All right, and then noticing your right knee. You're going to tone the muscles around the knee with control. Bend that knee and come on up to warrior two. Nice and solid. Shoulders over the hips. So if you're reaching, notice if you're doing that, try to bring your shoulders back in line with the hips. Strong pose, warrior two. Bend the right elbow. Just rest the arm down onto your thigh. Bring your left hand to your hip. You're going to draw the hip back and turn to look toward the ceiling. So we're strong in your legs. We're opening the chest up toward the ceiling. Don't let that right knee come in. And then you could release your left hand, start to draw it around the back of the body. See if you can grab a hold of the top of the right thigh. So we're going to be reaching, drawing the shoulder back, twisting more toward the ceiling. Might be bent, legs are strong. Weight into both feet. Breathe in here. Then we'll release that left hand back up toward the ceiling and work our way back into warrior two. We're going to straighten the front leg. Come on back down into triangle pose. And then we'll release here. Come on back up. We're going to turn and go to the other side. So you might step your feet together and turn around, or you might just spin and swap the direction of the feet. Either way, left toes forward, right toes in. So again, inner spiral on that right side, but it's not so much that it turns the hips into warrior one position. You're going to counter against that inner spiral by opening the hips in line with the feet. Yeah, so when you're ready, arms out, strong legs, evenly pressing into both feet, active feet. Reach through the left hand and come on down to Trikonasana, triangle pose, stacking shoulders, rooting into both feet, breathing. From here, toning the muscles around the left knee, we'll come on up to warrior two. Shoulders right over the hips, breathing. Notice if you lose touch with where you are, what you're doing, the breath. Keep your awareness centered here. Bend that left elbow, bring the forearms to rest on the thigh, the right hand to the right hip, and rotate around the spine, starting to look toward the ceiling, opening the chest. And if you want to keep going there, you could slip the right hand around the back of the body, find the top of the left thigh, really draw the shoulder back. So it was the hand that was on the hip, not the one that was on your thigh. Yeah. Take that, take that one around the back of the body. And then we'll release that right hand back up toward the ceiling and work your way back up here, warrior two. And then I'll come into Trikonasana, triangle pose. One more time here, straightening that front leg. And then we'll come on up, standing, release the legs. I'm gonna come on down onto the floor. And I like to work on reclined half hero pose, half reclined hero pose. So you'll want a blanket for that. The idea is you're going to use your blanket to pad one side, one hip. So you want to fold it up in a way that you've got some height. Some of you may want to use a block instead, depends on how much height you need. An easy way to get into this posture is to first start in staff pose. So from staff pose, particularly if you're sitting all the way down on the floor. So from staff pose, I'm going to start by taking that right leg back. So that means roll, have your prop on your left side of the body. I'm going to roll onto your left side, bend your knee and grab a hold of your foot. So from here, you're going to try to point your toes, ballerina style, really point your toes. You can pull on with your hand to really lengthen out the front of the ankle. And then you're going to set the foot down onto the floor. Now you may want additional padding here if you have very sensitive feet. And when the hip rolls down, you're next to your ankle. You're not sitting on the foot. Right? So it's in close, it's very close, but you can feel where if you were fully on the floor, you would not be sitting on your foot. Now, if your knee is cranky, roll back out and use your hand to roll the calf muscle out and away from the inside edge. And that should help to soften your knee a little bit. And now you may feel your hips are kind of cattywampus, right? They're leaning toward the left side. So this is where your blanket will come in. You're going to put your left hand on the floor to lift up, slide your blanket underneath of just the left hip, and then sit back down. So this, hopefully you've got enough height here where you can feel the hips to start to level out. If you still feel like you're heavy in your left side, you might need a little more height. Everybody okay here? Yeah. Okay, so half hero pose. The knee should be neutral. You might feel it in the front of the ankle. That's totally normal. You don't want your knee to be way out to the side. It's about hip distance. So they're still in their hip distance position. So if your knee's out like this, bring it in so that your knees are about hip distance apart. Okay. Everybody's here and everybody's okay. You might feel a little on your ankle. You might feel some in the quadricep muscle. We're going to take the toes up on your extended leg. And let's do the forward bend first. We're going to lean forward here. Some of you may be able to drop that foot. Others may want to keep your hands back and lead more with your chest. So it kind of depends. If you are rounding, if you're rounding to get to the foot, then don't worry about the foot. Keep the hands back and lengthen the top of the head. So a little bit forward here. Try to keep the hips as level as you can. So if that right hip is rolling up, try to roll it back down. On an inhale, we'll come on up here and take your hands back now for the reclined version. We're going to start to walk the hands back, maybe bending the elbows, lengthening back. Your head may come back if that feels okay on the neck. Tailbone, the further back you go, the tailbone is going to have to shift towards your knees. You want to lengthen your low back. You don't want this to be a back bend. If you are able to come down onto your elbows, we could do that. If you're not there yet, that's okay. Try to keep that front knee, that right knee down. So here you may be feeling that quadricep on the right side. I'm hoping that that's what you're feeling and not anything around your knee. If you're feeling some things around the knee, then push the knee actively down into the floor. And that should take it more into the quad. All right, 10 out is opposite the way we got in. So we're gonna work our way up with our hands, coming on back up to center. Okay, switching to the other side. The easy way to do this, roll onto your left side, release, slowly release that right leg, being mindful of the knee. And then you're gonna roll over to the right side and fall off your blanket. That's the easy way. Remove the blanket and take it over to the right side. So you're back in this staff pose. And before you go to the other side, let's just give a little rub to that right knee. So you're going to take your hands onto the kneecap and just kind of give it a little massage, going one way and other. And when it feels a little happier, you can release that. We'll come to now the second side. So you're going to roll onto your right side, bend your left knee, grabbing a hold of your foot and drawing it back. And the more you can pull it in, the easier it'll be to set it down. Roll back down to level the hips, dropping the top of your foot onto the floor. And again, if you're really bunching up in the knee, then you can roll the calf muscle outward. And the knees are still about hip distance apart. That foot is next to your hip. And once you feel okay here, you're going to push into that right hand to lift up, pull the blanket under just that side, and sit back down so you can level out the hips a little more. So this is half hero pose that we're in right now. So keeping those hips level, we're going to come into the forward bend, so leaning over that front foot, toes up toward the ceiling. You might be able to grab a hold of the foot, or if the shoulders are rounding, just take the hands back and lead with the chest. Trying to keep the hips as level as you can. Breathing here. Inhale, we'll come on up from there and into the reclined version. So try to take your hands back. And if you go back further, you might take your tailbone more toward your knees. You could bend your elbows, maybe coming down on the elbows. The head might drop back if it feels okay on the neck, or you might just look forward. And if that bent knee is popping up off the floor, I'm going to actively push it down into the floor, lengthening out that quadricep. And on an inhale, we'll come on up from there, back to that centered place. And then we're going to roll onto the right side. Slowly release that left knee, left leg, roll onto the left side and move the blanket. And then we can give a little massage to that left knee, rolling one way and then the other. And from here, we're going to work our way down onto the back. Knees bent and come on down. So bend the knees, feet on the floor. We're going to walk your feet a little bit close to the hips. We're going to work our way into an easy bridge pose, just taking the arms down. Place that feels comfortable. Shoulders drop down toward the floor. When you're ready, push into the feet and lift the hips. Tailbone toward the knees, not overworking, just finding an ease in the posture. Breathe in here. And then we'll lower the hips back down to the floor. Pick the feet up. Let's draw the soles of the feet together for a Baddha Konasana on the back here. So grab a hold of your feet or your ankles and separate the knees, pulling the feet in closer to the body. Then release the feet. I'm going to cross your left knee over your right. So try and stack your knees. Feet will be up off the floor. So left knee on top of the right and feet off the floor. We're going to draw the knees in close towards your chest. So starting to pull them in. We'll take the right hand on top of your left knee, the one that's on top. And then pull the knees to the right side. So in close towards your chest and all the way over to the right side of the body. I'm going to drop your knees and feet onto the floor here. So they might even be up close to your shoulder. Just find a place you can soften the knees down, the feet down. And then we'll open the chest toward the ceiling, starting to rotate the upper body in the opposite direction. Left shoulder will drop down toward the floor. So lower body toward the right, upper body toward the left. Then on the inhale, we'll come on back to center. And unwind the legs. Make sure your spine feels centered here. And then we'll cross the right knee on top of the left. So it's really as high as you can get in that cross. And draw the knees in toward the chest. We'll take the left hand onto the right knee to kind of pull that in. And then all the way over to the left side, the feet, the knees, everything dropping down, but also in toward the chest on that left side. And then the chest will open toward the ceiling, right shoulder drops down toward the floor. Nice twist, just breathing. And on the inhale, we'll unwind. And winding the legs. We're going to work our way into Shavasana from here. And straighten out the legs, find a comfy place. As you work into your corpse pose, softening the body. Allow the breath to deepen. Movement, return to the body. As you're ready, make your way up to a seated position. Hands together at the heart. Thank you all for joining and for sharing your morning yoga practice with me. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in class next time. Namaste.